All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we break down Brock Purdy's brand new contract. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And this video is sponsored by LearnKey's Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. Whether you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing, or another high-demand field, they offer over 30 certification programs to help you take that next step in your career. They've been in business for 37 years. They've worked with over 200,000 students, and they place about 100 graduates of their program every month into well-paying jobs. So check them out. The links are in the description below. LearnKey Upskill Academy. Thanks to them for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, let's talk a little bit about Brock Purdy's new deal. We were in Santa Clara today talking to Brock Purdy about his new contract. He signs a 5-year, $265 million contract with the 49ers. It includes a $40 million signing bonus. It includes $182,550,000 in guarantees, and there's an average annual salary of $53 million. Now, in 2025, he will earn a base salary of $1.1 million and a signing bonus of $40 million, while carrying a cap hit of $9.1 million as far as his cap hit. So it's a 5-year, $265 million deal, $40 million bonus, $100 million guaranteed at signing, $182.5 million in total guarantees, and it will make him a free agent in the 2031 season. So that's pretty much the deal right there. I mean, it's guaranteed 1.1 in year one. It's guaranteed at 46.8 in year two. It's guaranteed at 11.9 in year three. And then that's all the guaranteed money. There's no guaranteed money in 28 or 29 or in 2030. So there's no guaranteed money there. So it looks like it's easy for the 49ers to get out at that point. As far as a practical matter, the first 3 years are fully guaranteed at signing. So he's got the first 3 years guaranteed at $115.3 million. The first real decision point for the 49ers comes after the first 2 seasons. After the 26th season, the Niners will have until April 1st of 27 to avoid $55 million in full guarantees for 2028. And they would owe Purdy $27.2 million for 27, subject to offset language. And, basically, they have different options on April 1st that will allow them to get out fairly painlessly at that point. So, as far as, there's a $182.5 million guaranteed for injury, but only $100 million fully guaranteed at signing. And the rest of it vests later on. So the Niners have key exit points. April 1st, 2026, the Niners can get out and avoid 2027 guarantees. April 1st, 2027, the Niners can get out and avoid a massive $55 million 2028 guarantee. April 1st of 2028 and 2029, there are also out clauses there. And that matters because the Niners basically bought themselves time. So it's elite quarterback money, but you've got some built-in protection if Purdy regresses over the life of the deal. And so it's, as far as the strategy, despite the monster extension, his 2025 cap hit only rises $3.7 million is his 2025 cap hit, which is very team-friendly and keeps the Niners Super Bowl window open in the short term. So if you look at most quarterback deals, they balloon. There's some balloon cap hits early on. This one doesn't have that. It's structured to keep the Nick Bosas, the Brandon Ayuks, and others around longer. So it gives them an ability to keep that number low initially when a lot of the quarterback numbers are high initially, and that enables the 49ers to keep a number of their top tier players on their roster in the present. There's also big chunks that come via option bonuses. For example, $37.7 million in 26, $15 million in 27. And that's not just base salary. Those are listed as option bonuses. And option bonuses are preferred because you can prorate them over several years and it helps smooth out the cap hits. So it gives the Niners a little bit more financial flexibility to manipulate cap hits year to year and restructure along the way if need be. April 1st of 2026, April 1st of 2027, April 1st of 2028. Those are all guarantee vesting deadlines. So if Purdy isn't an elite player, by 2026, the Niners do have escape hatches before they lock in to huge future payouts. So, they're not we're in a situation where you're just totally wed to the player. Like we've seen with Russell Wilson's deal and Kyler Murray's deal, where the guarantees kind of trap the team. This gives the 49ers, some escape hatches along the way if Purdy's not playing well. And compared to some of the other deals that we've seen for quarterbacks, for some of the deals like for Deshaun Watson or Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, compared to other deals, this has more staggered guarantees, a lower initial risk, and a smarter financial, out clauses along the way. And that matters because, it's a carefully engineered contract for a quarterback at this pay level. The Niners make a huge commitment to Brock Purdy, but they do it kind of on their own terms. And ultimately, I think because of that, this is very much a win-win kind of a deal. Really win-win-win if you want to say the fans win as well, because they get their quarterback locked up and the distraction of, what direction are you going at the quarterback position isn't there. The Niners win because they get strategic escape hatches if Purdy doesn't play well. And, of course, Purdy wins because he's getting, nearly $200 million in guarantees, $100 million guaranteed at signing in the form of a bonus in 2025 salary. And so there, he's pretty set. He gets the full no trade clause, so there's no chance that they trade him. The 49ers do have, out clauses where if by chance this whole thing blew up, they could say goodbye to Lynch, goodbye to Shanahan, and then attract a new head coach or a new general manager with the full knowledge that that person would be able to pick their own quarterback and go in their own direction. So it takes care of Brock. It takes care of him, gets him money early on. It protects the team early on, as well. So it's really more like a 3-year deal that they can get out of. So they're not exposed long term if there's real regression there. Or let's just say the 49ers win 5 games this year. Let's say they win 6 games the next year. Let's say they've got a couple of years where they don't look very good and suddenly the Yorks are no longer believing in the direction of Lynch and Shanahan. It enables them to kind of say goodbye to Lynch or Shanahan at some point, because it would also mean that they could change the quarterback after the guarantees go away. So, I mean, I do understand why, where this can be a advantageous deal. Now, I asked Brock a couple questions in the presser. The first question I asked him was, all right, what did I ask him? I asked him if
the no trade clause important in there. Brock, was the no trade clause important?
Oh yeah, I asked him about the no trade clause. So I asked Brock about the no trade clause and if that was how vitally important. And I thought it was kind of interesting what he said. Here's what he had to say.
The no trade clause important to you that it was in there?
I think it's important, yes, but also it's something that my agent and I had discussed with what other quarterbacks have around the league and stuff in their contract. But for me, was it going to be a determining factor in signing it or not? No. Like we very grateful that we had it in there. But at the end of the day, like I said, everything else that the contract entails, we're extremely excited about, and yeah, so we're just grateful how it turned out.
What sort of a
Yeah, now if you really think about this logically, why is this an important thing? Because right now, Brock Purdy is signing a contract with the 49ers. But let's just say the 49ers go south for the next couple of years and win 10 games combined, and the owners decide to get rid of the head coach and the GM and go in a different direction. Well, as I said, there's outs here to protect the club and would allow them to get out without any guaranteed money at a certain point. But where does it protect Brock? I mean, he doesn't really, if he has a no trade clause, now he's got a seat at the table. Now, if they say, hey, you know what, we'd like to move you, now he's part of the discussion. Now he has to sign off on it. Now it's just like, hey, they can't just say, oh, well, you know what, we don't want Lynch or Shanahan anymore, and we're going to go hire, whatever, whomever, some offensive coordinator. And that offensive coordinator comes in and doesn't want any part of Brock Purdy. Well, now in this current scenario, Brock Purdy's got a no trade clause. And so that means he's got a seat at the table. That means he's got a say in if he gets traded, and if so, where he gets traded. Without that clause, they can do whatever they want with him as long as they're paying him the money, and they can trade him anywhere, and he loses control over his career and where he's ultimately going to be, which is a huge part, a huge determining factor in success or failures. What team are you on? And so now, because he's got the no trade clause. I mean, what is a no trade clause? It's just a means that they can't trade you without your consent, which means that you're not going to consent to it if they're going to trade you to the worst team in the league. So you lose control over your career if you don't have a no trade clause in there, even if you have no intention of ever being traded or okaying a trade. If this whole thing blows up and it's a different GM and a different coach, and you don't have that trust, and they suddenly want to trade you to some terrible place, you can say, no, I won't go there. I won't sign off on this. I won't waive my no trade clause to go to the Carolina Panthers. So it just protects Brock against a new regime coming in and just basically just saying, we're just gonna get rid of you. And we don't care about if you're successful wherever you go next. We just want to be able to get rid of you. And so the trade, the no trade clause basically guarantees that if they want to move him at some point, and if they want to move him to, the Miami Dolphins, and it's his team that he rooted for as a kid, and Dan Marino and this and that, he can be like, yeah, I'll go. But if they want to trade him to the Carolina Panthers, he can say, no, I will not go. So the no trade clause is important so that he has control over his future. And maybe he doesn't have any concerns about that with Lynch and Shanahan there, but if Lynch and Shanahan are not there, maybe him and his agent have significant concerns about whether Brock's best interests will be heeded at that point in time, and they want to make sure that he has control. So that was the first question. The second question I asked him was just about I think I asked him about how everybody's looking. And
Kubiak told us that you've had
let's hear my second question.
Brock. Kubiak told us that you've had a great offseason and that you really have embraced things and you want to be coached hard. You really want to get better. Is there something looking back at last year that you can point to that you specifically this offseason are trying to improve at?
Yeah, I think, just fundamentals in general. And I know it sounds, cheesy or whatnot, but just watching the film and stuff, like my footwork and being on point and not getting too comfortable within a situation or game. I actually have gone back and watched a lot of my rookie tape, and when I first got in, how I was on it, and all I knew was what they coached me, my footwork, and where my eyes need to be. And so sort of sinking back to those fundamentals and applying that to OTAs and the field work every single day, and having that fire in me every single rep. And so it's been pretty cool. And then obviously just being around the young guys, man, and them coming in and not knowing a whole lot, like seeing like, hey, this is how the coaches teach it and it works. You got to trust that and go all in on that. So, fundamentals.
So the question that I asked Brock, the second question I asked Brock was about about Clay Kubiak. Clay Kubiak, the 49ers offensive coordinator. And Clay told us the other day that Brock's had a great offseason and that he wants to be coached hard and that he likes to be coached hard and that he wants the coaches to find the weaknesses in his game from a year ago and make him go through those mental reps in the offseason so he can improve and get better. And I asked him about what it was last year, what exactly does he want to get better at? And I thought it was an interesting answer. He said that he wants to get better. He kind of pointed to his rookie year where he basically was only concerned his rookie year with, does he have the proper mechanics? Does he calling the play? Does he have the proper mechanics? And then after that, he was really just trying to kind of survive and getting rid of the ball. Getting the ball out of his hands and into the hands of his playmakers and let them make a play. Well, what did he do last year? He held the ball. He held the ball longer. Now, why did he hold the ball longer? He held the ball longer because he was trying to let his receivers kind of free themselves up down the field and because they weren't open. We've heard guys reference it a bunch this offseason. One of the 49ers' biggest problems last year is they were 32nd in the league in wide receiver separation. So how did that impact Brock? Well, he held the ball too long, trying to allow his receivers to free themselves open down the field. And he wasn't just, taking his drop and having the proper mechanics and getting the ball out. I think his rookie year, he was more concerned with, can I memorize the play so I can verbalize it at the line of scrimmage? Can I take the proper drop with the proper mechanics, the proper footwork, and then let's get the ball out and get it into the hands of my playmakers and let them make a play. And I think what happened this last year is that, because the 49ers, had injuries, because they had problems separating and creating that separation with defensive backs, Brock held the ball. Guys weren't open. He held the ball. He would move within the play to get himself to a secondary launch point, to hold the ball longer, to let his guys free up so he could make plays. And there were several times that this strategy worked for Brock Purdy, where he took his drop. At the top of the drop, he's looking around, he's surveying the field. There's nobody open. So what does he do? He holds the ball a little longer and either drifts or, runs to a new spot, a new launch point, and now he surveys the field again. And many, many times in that second surveying of the field, he found somebody open. But there were many times that he didn't find anybody open, and it was late in the down, and now he's trying to make a play, and he's late in the middle of the field. He's late in the down, forcing a ball into coverage, and he made some bad decisions and he turned the ball over. And those turnovers in the second half of games cost the 49ers victories. And I think that's really what happened. So I think what he's saying this year is, hey, you know what? I'd like to focus a little bit more on my mechanics, a little bit more on my footwork, a little bit more on taking the proper drop, and then the ball's got to come out. The ball's got to come out. I've got to get it into the hands of my receivers, my running backs, my playmakers, and let's get the ball out on time like I did my first year, in my second year. And this last year, I think what he was saying kind of indirectly is that guys weren't open. I held the ball too long, and sometimes good things happened, and a lot of times bad things happened. And I think if you're going to avoid those negative plays, well, I'm sure he wants to avoid them. The ball has got to come out quicker and in more rhythm this year. And I think that's something that you're going to see him, do throughout the year. I think he's going to take his drop. He's going to worry about his mechanics. He's going to survey the field, and he's going to make a call. And that ball is going to come out. He's not going to hold it. He's not going to wait 7, 8, 9 times a game late in the down, trying desperately, hoping that something positive comes of it. And the reality is, for every positive play in that scenario, there's probably 1 or 2 negative ones. And I think altogether, he'd just like to avoid that. So work on your mechanics, focus on your mechanics, focus on getting the ball out, focus on, simplifying the game like he did for himself as a rookie and not necessarily holding it, trying desperately to make the big play on every single play. And I think that's pretty much what he told us there. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show. Hope you enjoyed the Brock Purdy contract breakdown. Leave a comment in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe on your way out the door. And thanks to you all for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.